Hello, everybody, and welcome. Really good to be talking to you actually on World Mental Health Day. So what we're about to discuss is obviously really relevant to people's mental health. So, really pleased to be presenting to you. Yes, my name is Dawn Cummings. I'm the regional manager for the West Midlands, and I've been talking to Sam over the last few months about work that we can do across the system, really, to try and raise the profile and make you aware of the work of the Money and Pension Service. So for those of you that don't know, the Money and Pension Service is an arm's length organisation linked to DWP, and we are funded by the financial levies that the large institutions pay in, and that money comes out, goes into government, comes out through DWP and through to us. What that means really from your point of view is that we are a trusted source. So we offer free, impartial guidance. That is our role by statute. That is what the government asks us to do. And so everything I'm about to share with you or tell you about, there is no cost involved, no charge for it. And it is really just to try and make sure that everybody knows about our work and how we can support you, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. So we were formed in 2019 and we brought together 3 organisations at that time. They were the Money Advice Service, PensionWise, and the Pensions Advisory Service. So the Money and Pension Service is the umbrella organisation, and the Money Advice Service has since been rebranded and is now called Money Helper. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through some of the parts of the Money Helper website, which I think you will find the most helpful and will be a really good introduction to the website and the sorts of information that it holds. I would say that the website is it's vast and can be a bit overwhelming. So what I'm aiming to do really is to simplify it a bit, show you key areas to go to, and then you can take it from there. Happy to take questions throughout or questions at the end as well. So our definition of financial well-being is to ensure that people know they can pay the bills today, can deal with the unexpected, are on track for a healthy financial future. And what that means is that we want to make sure that in all areas of our lives, there is some sort of guidance which is relevant. So we do a lot of work around children and young people and education around the importance of good financial knowledge. We do a lot of work at the other end of the scale. So when we talk about a healthy financial future, we're referring to pensions and those in later life as well. And then, of course, the bulk of our work around the middle bit, which is the everyday life that you and I lead. And, we look at good credit. We look at how we can support people who may be suffering with debt. And we're always encouraging people, where possible, to save money. Even if it's only £1 a week, we just would like people, where they can, to save money. What that all means is that if we can help people be secure, confident and empowered about their money, they will then feel more able to manage it well. Now, I've got some stats here and they are already out of date. And as I'm sure you can appreciate, my world changes from week to week. The amount of government announcements that come out relating to finances, energy, it's really hard to keep on top of. So I have left this slide alone, but I would say that the information in it is quite useful. So you can see here 5.7 million low income UK households are on universal credit. 5 million families affected by fuel stress. We know that's more. That's going to be far more now. We know that. So we have 4.4 million new or increased borrowing through the pandemic, and then 3.8 million low-income UK households in arrears. And again, we know that figure will be much bigger now. So, you know, as I say, we're sort of dealing with a moving feast here, and I'm going to try and sort of make sense of that a bit for you. So, as I said earlier in the presentation, we formerly had a website and all our support was around the Money Advice Service. And last year we rebranded it to Money Helper. And the idea of Money Helper is it carries all the same information really, but it is about working together with you to support you with your financial well-being. The majority of the assets that we have are digital based, so I'm going to take you through primarily our website, but it is important to say that we do have support. We do telephone, we do printed merchandise, we do presentations like I'm doing for you here. So it's not just limited to digital, but that is what I will be taking you through. So where I chose to start was a landing page. So I thought I'll go in and I'll have a look at everyday money. And as you can see from this slide, and I apologise it's a bit small, but copies of the slides will be available after the presentation. And you can see there, if you go into that tab, there's something on banking, budgeting, running a car, credit and purchases, insurance, different types of credit and everyday money. And then we have tools listed there. So there's something around compare bank accounts, a budget planner and a credit card calculator. The two main elements to take away from this page would be the budget planner, and I'm going to take you through that in a bit more detail because I believe everybody should be looking at setting up a budget. And the other thing to say is that when we look at types of credit, we know people need credit, but what we want to do is to make sure that people use credit well and they use it from good sources. So there is quite a lot of information on there about where you can access good credit and what that would look like. I then went into another tab along the top in pink, and this one's called Money Troubles. And you can see here we have managing your money in uncertain times. And let's be honest, they don't get more uncertain than they are now. So, you know, really, really relevant. Dealing with debt, always an issue. We are the biggest funder of debt advice provision in England. So we fund Citizens Advice and other organisations as well. So we always want to make sure that there is debt advice available for people, which is accessible. So there is a big thing on debt. You can see there we've listed scams, and I have real concerns. The most recent scam that I've had that's come to me was a couple of weeks ago. I got a text message on my mobile phone to tell me that if I went to a link they provided, they would help me to claim back my £400 fuel allowance. Well, of course, I know that the fuel allowance is given to all of us through our energy supplier, and we don't actually need to do anything about it. But a lot of people will be taken in by it. And I noticed on TV this morning that Martin Lewis was talking about this particular scam, and that a lot of people are getting caught out with it. So what we do is, as an organisation, as soon as we become aware of scams, we do a lot of work to try and make people realise they are being scammed and this is what it's about. But the reality is scams and scammers are very well ahead of the game, and they are really quick to switch into whatever the latest scam could be. So a huge problem for maybe some of your relatives, elderly people, and so something we really need to keep an eye on. On this page, you will also see that we have some tools. So we've got a debt advice locator tool, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail. We've got a couple of things. One's called Money Navigator, one's called Money Manager. and they are to help you to sort of start looking at how you manage your money. And then we have something called a bill prioritizer, which is really, really helpful for people and incredibly timely, actually. So I just wanted to give you a feel for other parts of the website, which I'm not going to talk to you in any particular detail about, but I just wanted to make you aware of. So you can see we do have things around employment. We do have a lot of information around universal credit and benefits. And then we have a lot of information for people that work, so tax and national insurance, employee benefits, etc. As an organisation, people assume that we are really here to help the most vulnerable in society, and there is no doubt about it, that is our role. However, as an organisation, we know that one of the biggest areas of help where people need help is what they call the squeeze middle. So it's people like you and me, we go out to work, we may earn a reasonable salary, and we are still struggling to make ends meet. And the whole point of this website is to try to help people like us, to provide guidance and links and signposting to areas where we can possibly get some help that we need. So our work is aimed at everybody. So I just wanted to start to have a quick look at the budget planner, which is on the website. And what I would say is this is a great budgeting tool. So I've worked for the Money and Pension Service for about 3 years. And throughout all that time, I've been saying to everybody, you must do a budget. Everybody must do a budget and they must keep on top of it. I did my budget about 6 months ago. So, you know, it just shows you we all do need to do our budget. And I used the budget planner and I found it really helpful and really insightful because it asks you questions around your income and around your expenditure. And it's really detailed and it covers all areas of life that you might not think about. So in my case, I have a lot of pets. I've got dogs, cats, pigs, chickens. And in my head, I thought a budget would be about £50 a month to feed them all and to keep them all going. Well, of course, the reality isn't. It's much more than that. Feeding them is 3 times more than that. And then you've got vet bills on top. And what this does, it actually makes you think about all areas of your life and actually what those areas cost. So it takes about 3/4 of an hour to an hour to complete properly. And it's worth every bit of your time to do it. And when you've completed it, what it then does is, and you can see there's a step 2, it's a bit small, but you can see there's a graph there, and it shows you how your expenditure breaks down and where most of your expenditure is going to. Now, my fear is, and my fear I think is a reality, that on doing that now, any one of us would find that a huge amount of our income is being spent on energy usage and either mortgage payments or rent. So it really does help focus your mind on where your money is being spent and to help you think about how you can perhaps improve your expenditure and your income to try and make it work better for you. So the budget planner, it is for everyone. You sign in, it is all confidential. We don't have access to any of the information you put in there. We don't harvest it, we don't do anything with it. It is purely a tool for you to be able to look at how you manage your money. Now, the next really useful tool is the bill prioritizer. And this was developed towards the end of last year in answer to the pandemic. We had no idea what was coming down the road with this and how useful and relevant it would be in today's world. So the bill prioritizer allows people to go on and to put in there all the bills that they're worried about. And then what you do is you press a button and the tool prioritizes all your debts and gives you hints and tips and links to how to manage those debts. So it does help focus the mind around what is a priority debt and what isn't. So at the top, you would always expect to find your property, so rent or mortgage, energy usage, council tax, etc. The reality is, if you lose your home, you're homeless, and you could be evicted. It's a big problem. If you don't pay your council tax, you could be taken to court. So again, it does help you think about, right, where are my priority debts and how do I manage those better? So you can see here, as I've said, you choose the bills you're worried about, and then we give you help on how to deal with them. So what I did was I went in there and I did a quick check on my energy bills. And I then did a screenshot of what came out. Now, this is very small, so I do apologise, but just to give you a feel. So on energy debts, what it said to me, first of all, is to agree a payment plan if you're worried about it. So we always say to contact the energy provider if you have concerns about it. And then the second point was to prepare for higher bills. So, our bills are going to be high. There's nothing we can do about that. We need to find ways in which we can manage that better. The third point here was to check to qualify for any extra government help. And you can see here there's a number of links on this page. It will have changed in the last 2 weeks. That will have completely changed again. The information on our website is really up to date, but there's things like the Warm Homes discount, and there's all sorts of areas to go to have a look to see how you can better support your energy usage. And then the fourth point here was extra support if you're vulnerable. Now, what's really helpful about this is that what a lot of people don't know is that some of the energy suppliers do have what they call a vulnerable services register, and in particular, water companies. So I live in Northamptonshire, and my water company is Anglian Water, and I have friends who the wife is disabled. She's been in a wheelchair for about 20 years, and they were unaware that they could go onto Anglian Water's Vulnerable Services Register. And when they looked into it and they did this, they got a 50% discount on their water bill, and they also received a rebate on the bill that they paid this year. So this is something around, you don't know what you don't know. So, it's always worth having a look to see if energy companies or water companies can help you, or if you have friends or family who you feel could be vulnerable or could be suitable for this, then it's worth having a look at. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that. Now, I did mention earlier, we're the biggest funder of debt advice across England. And what we have is something called the Debt Advice Locator tool. And so what you can do with this is you go into it and you put in your postcode or the area where you live, and then it will provide you with a list of all the debt advice agencies which are closest to you. So you can see here, the last time I did this was for Coventry, and I just did a screenshot actually of the list that came up, and you can see there are 4 organisations, but actually the list was about 12. It's really, really helpful for you to be able to know where you can go to if you want some face-to-face debt advice or support, as well as phone numbers and website links as well. So again, really worth knowing about and really worth sharing with family, friends and colleagues. Now, I'm very conscious that a lot of our information is digital, and that's not suitable for everybody. And for staff that are out in the community or on the front line, they don't, as a matter of course, log on to their emails in the mornings. They don't necessarily look at the intranet. And so it might be really helpful to have some printed guides. And we provide those free of charge. You can get them on the website. We have an ordering portal. And what you do is you go in there, and there's about 20 different things of guides There's things for mortgages, there's generally information about managing money, there is stuff in there about pensions. So it's really, really broad. And you can order as many copies as you like. So if, for example, you lead a staff team, you might think, well, actually, I'll order a load of these to hand out to my colleagues, just so that they're aware of what's out there. And these can also be put into staff rooms as well. So really helpful to know about. And I also have PDFs of posters, which I'm willing to send out to anybody should you wish to put those up around any of your organisations as well. So we then have, I wanted to talk very briefly about pensions and retirement. Now, I'm obviously very conscious that, a lot of you will have NHS pensions, and, they are quite different to the way that some other pensions operate. But what's really important here is people really need to understand about the world of pensions, because it is complicated. And I work in this environment and I find it really complicated too. So I think our information on our website is really helpful, because it does talk about auto enrolment and, saving for your retirement pot and pension problems. And it goes through the basics of pensions as well, so you understand them. And it talks about tax and pensions. So there's a lot of information on there, which is really, really helpful. And we also do offer seminars to groups of people where I can get colleagues, because we do have a really large pensions team, colleagues to talk to a group of people about their pensions options. So again, it's impartial. They're not representing any companies. They are just trying to skill all of you up into understanding a bit more about your pensions. And I think there is something around knowing what questions to ask. If you understand more about your pension, when you speak to somebody what you should be asking. Now, you obviously have your own pensions providers, and they probably do answer any questions you have. But if you wanted some very independent views about pensions, then this is the place to go to. So I would recommend that to everybody. There is something called PensionWise, and PensionWise is open to everybody over the age of 50. And it allows people to, it's a bit of a pensions MOT really, and you can phone in, you can have an hour's discussion with somebody about your pension, and it talks to you about the money that's in there, the pensions that you have that you know about. In some cases they can trace lost pensions, and then where you are with it all, where you want to be, the age you want to retire, what sort of income you want. And it's really helpful for you to sort of start getting your head around where you are with your pensions. So PensionWise is always worth a look, definitely. Now, I wanted to talk to you quite briefly about two other sort of schemes outside of just the Money and Pension Service, because there's a lot of information out there. And much as I'm saying to you, go to Money Helper, it's a really good website, and it definitely is. You might think, actually, I would rather go to Martin Lewis, for example. You might always use Money Helper or Martin Lewis's website, and that's absolutely fine, because I really just want to make sure that people know that there are places to go for help and guidance. And, if I can help signpost you to those, that's great. So there are a couple of external schemes. One is called Help to Save, which is a government savings account, and you can save between £1 and £50 a month, and you get a bonus of 50p for every pound saved over 4 years. Now, this is open to people who are in receipt of working tax credit, or are entitled to working tax credit and receipt of child tax credit, or they're claiming universal credit. I did this presentation, I think about 3 or 4 months ago, to an organisation, and 3 members of staff in that meeting had Help to Save accounts, and one of them in particular, she'd started it before she got into her present job and had kept the account going. And sure enough, over the 4 years, she'd made quite a lot of money and interest on this. So it's really worth looking at. If it's not for you, it might be for family or friends, but certainly have a look at Help to Save. The other thing I wanted to draw your attention to is child trust funds. So some of you might remember that from 2002 till January 2011, the government set up child trust funds for every child that was born during that time. If you have children or you know of children between the ages of 9 and 18 years old, possibly 20, and you receive child benefit, they probably have a child trust fund. Now, a lot of these accounts have been untouched. People just haven't been into them and taken their money out. And it was drawn to my attention that in Wales, there's something like £37 million of unclaimed child tax fund money, which is sitting in accounts. So if you do have children, you know children in that age group, they probably have a child trust fund, and if they haven't already cashed it in, it is worth looking for it and finding it. I think the problem with it has been that in some cases people have forgotten they had a child trust fund. They may have moved and the child trust fund hasn't followed that address. It could be where a family is broken down and only one member of the family has access to the trust fund. But for our children and young people, it's really useful to know that there's money out there that they could have. And this could be anything from £250 through to about £750. So it's a nice little sum of money, and it is well worth trying to hunt it down and find it. So I'm coming to the end of my presentation now, and I just wanted to summarise for you some of the things that I've highlighted. So I have shown you some of the website, but there is a library of online articles and videos, all of which are really, really helpful. So you can have a look for those. Obviously, I've highlighted for you printed guides, which I think are really helpful for you and for you to share. We've talked a bit about the guidance and the tools and calculators. There's lots on there. I've shown you a few, but there's quite a few more. Free pension support. We're very keen to support people with their pensions, and so very happy for people to contact me if they would like some further guidance on that. I have to say it wouldn't be me giving you that guidance, it would be one of my colleagues, but very happy to do that. And then we do have online programs for people to help them manage their money. And we do have a lot of our information can be shared on other channels as well. So it could be that, you know, your organisation might want to share some of our links and tools onto their website, and we're happy for that to happen as well. So yeah, that's just a summary, and that's the end of the presentation. I didn't want to take too long with you because I recognise, first of all, we're in your lunch hour. Secondly, what I have to talk to you about is really, really dull. It's worthy, but it's dull, and I know that. So I just wanted to keep it short and sweet and just sort of highlight for you.